What's up, Vybez fam? Welcome to another episode of Vibe Shortz, a conversation series. I'm so excited to have the lovely Tiffany Janay. That's how I'm pronouncing it, right? Does that sound
I mean, that's super fancy. I would just say Janay, but
okay? Okay. Okay. Tiffany Janay here on the program, who is the owner of Quartz Yoni Eggs. And yes, folks, we're here to talk about some Yoni eggs. I'm so excited to have you here on the program. Tiffany, thank you so much for being here, for your time. I appreciate this. And I can't wait to jump into this conversation with you. So welcome to the program.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Oh, you're definitely welcome. This one I've been excited about for a while now. So
Cool.
yeah, so let's jump in. Let's talk about Yoni eggs, because there's been so much from my experience in learning about yoni eggs. There's been so many questions around yoni eggs, and before we even get into that, I'd love for you to talk about who you are and what you do, because not only are you the owner of Quartz Yoni Eggs, but you're also a sacred sexual coach. So tell us a little bit more about who you are and what you do for the viewers.
Yeah, so I've been operating yonieggs.com for about a little bit over 10 years now. It started out just from me being on a journey to figure out who I was as a woman and coming into that voice, making the transition over from being a young maiden into the motherhood phase and becoming married and a wife and wanting to figure out like how to do that. And I started taking some classes on different feminine archetypes and learned that there was a lot to learn. And that brought me into the Yoni eggs. And then from Yoni eggs, it just kind of opened up the whole world. From there, I started studying. So to take it back, my mom is a psychic. She's actually a really talented psychic, and she raised me to understand energy. That was probably like the first language that I learned. Mm-hmm. And so I have a really strong, I'm really sensitive to energy and the silent communication that's happening between beings. Yeah. And so when it came to sexuality, there was a lot of information out there, but most of it was really intimidating to me because it didn't resonate with what I wanted to do. Mm-hmm. I felt like a lot of it was like, it was very hyperactive of what I felt, like there was to have multiple partners or to experience with different fetishes and just things that I didn't resonate with. And I felt like I didn't have a voice in the sexual world. So therefore I was just prude. Like that was kind of my only voice of I was prude and I didn't like sex. And I knew that wasn't true. So through my studies, I found what people marketed to me as Tantra. And I just want to be clear about that because I'm working to be more sensitive to cultural appropriation and to making sure that I'm representing other people's cultures in the correct way. And so I will say that I was taught this as Tantra, but I've never studied with a Tantra master from the culture of Tantra to verify that. But I have taken multiple studies and teachings from Montauk Chia, which is pretty legit. So anyways, this teaching was taught to me as the connection of energy. And that's just expanded out for me of something I understand of like like creating sacred space for the sense of lovemaking and honoring each other, healthy communication outside of just the sexual spot, being clear about intentions, about consent, and honoring me as a being who's sharing in this particular act with you, and then having a responsibility for it. And so that's what I teach, what I've learned from different teachers, different cultures, different mythologies, and then I've kind of put it into my own way of what feels good for me. So I spend my time doing that. I'm also into yoga. I really just am into holistic living. And so I'm also a plant-based chef and help people with transitioning their diet, and a Kangen water distributor. And so, yeah, just all the aspects of holistic health is what I work with my clients on.
Nice. That's That's dope. I definitely identify with your views on sex as it being sacred and energy and all of those things. And I love to dive back. I love to dive into that more with you a little bit later. But I do want to get to the yoni eggs because I'm sure that's why everyone is tuning in. So I'm gonna share my journey with the yoni, how I came to get to the yoni egg journey
Okay.
myself. So for me, I've I've been doing personal development work for a while, but I recently just delved in the last 4 years, like deep into the personal development work. And I find that every year, and this one in particular, like I go deeper and deeper into like shadow work, like these deep rooted traumas and wounds come up the more I delve into my own healing and traumas. And for me, I've heard I've heard some things about the yoni eggs, which I want to clear up with you. I've heard negative things and positive things about the yoni egg. And so that's exactly why I wanted an expert on here to just what what is the yoni egg? What does it do? And what's its purpose? And so for me, I was just curious about it because it's, they're crystals, really. And you
Yeah.
just put them inside your body for healing. And I was called towards doing yoni eggs, but I was kind of like hearing different things and I wasn't sure. And I'm like, oh, like I didn't want it solely for, because I heard it was just to strengthen the inside of your vagina, right?
Yeah.
Vaginal walls and your pelvic floor. And I, for a living, do physical therapy. So that was interesting to me, but I was just like, I don't need to tighten anything because I'm not sexually active and I'm also a lesbian. So I identify as a lesbian. So I'm not doing a lot of like things aren't going in and out of me all the time. So
Yeah.
my own sexual experience. So I was just like, I don't need to strengthen anything. And I haven't had a child. I haven't given birth. So, I was just like, I don't identify with the kegel and strengthening the walls. But I was just like, it's a crystal. So I identify with that part of it. And so I wanted to explore that. And in, this year in particular, I've been exploring more of like my sexuality and what that looks and feels like for me. And I do identify with the sacredness of sex because I don't believe sex is just for pleasure. It's like, yeah, great. But like the holistic approach to pleasure is different than just like experiencing just sex just for pleasure. So I wanted to explore. So I've been exploring these different parts of me and sexuality within me and what that looks like for me. And so then I got called towards the yoni eggs. I saw you on Queen of Fua's live, and I've seen probably twice now, and I was like, oh, I think this is for me. I really would love to know more about these yoni eggs. So I've been working more with like my heart chakra, and so that's what called out to me because I want to expand more love in my heart and and I've had my my traumas around just like opening up to people and being loving because before I was just a little bit closed down. I'm like, I love people, but people get on my nerves. Like they just do. And I don't want to deal with people. But that's not the way the world works. We need people in order to operate, as our
Yeah.
fullest selves. And so I've been exploring that. So I purchased a love quartz yoni egg, a rose quartz yoni egg. And I remember I was exploring that and just sexually as well. And I realized like I just started having some emotional breakdowns and I was like, oh, okay. I see and I feel and I'm expanding and I totally understand the purpose of it. So you won't know until you really like get yourself a yoni egg and use it. But I say all that to say that I also heard a conversation between two doctors. One was a doctor of DPT and one was just a medical doctor. And they were talking about yoni eggs. And the DPT was saying when you insert a yoni egg, because it does carry weight, that's why you use the resistance and you do the Kegels and all those things. It does carry some weight. And the DPT was saying that amount of weight is not meant for the pelvic floor. Like the pelvic floor is not meant to hold that much weight for a long period of time. And granted, they're not heavy. It's not, you know what I mean? Like the weight of the eggs aren't heavy. I'm sure you know exactly how many pounds it weighs, if that. but it just didn't resonate. I was like, so you don't believe? I was questioning in my mind. I was just like, I don't resonate with this. Why wouldn't we be able to hold in a yogi egg and use your pelvic floor muscle to work on your pelvic floor? Because you push out a baby, right? And you should be able to hold an egg inside of your vagina. So I wanted to explore that more with you, and like the myths around yoni eggs and what the purpose of yoni eggs are, because it works for me, but I'd love to hear from you. What is the yoni egg, and what is the purpose of the yoni egg? And is it true that it should not be held for that long a period, amount of period of time inside of you? Because I've also noticed that it builds up. Like I've spent a day with it, and I'm like, okay, no, it kind of needs to come out. And my body just tells me it just needs to come out now. And then I've spent 2 days with it, and then it increases every time. So I let my body tell me when to release it. But I'd love to hear from you more about yoni eggs and their purpose.
Yeah, so we'll start there with the inserting them. I'm obviously not a doctor and I can't give medical advice, and I don't think that the information that I have is across the board and correct for everybody. But what I can share is my experience and the knowledge that I've found. So there's a couple schools of thoughts. There's one that comes from the Tao, spelled Tao. And that's the oldest documented information that I've been able to find as far as in reference to yoni eggs and the practice that dates back many generations. And in their teaching, they do say that you put it in for a few minutes at a time. You do specific exercises with them, and then you remove it and you go on about your day. And that's documented. When you purchase from me, I give out a use and care pamphlet inside of the box that the yoni egg comes in, and it does explain the Tao way. So on the flip side, what I came into the yoni egg movement about, like I said, 10, 11 years ago. And what got me into it was I was looking for one for myself, and there wasn't any e-commerce stores out there that existed that was selling them. And so there was more of like these niche kind of groups of people that were speaking about yoni eggs back then, but it definitely was not a household name, and it didn't have all of the energy around it that it now has. And so I've grew up with a lot of the women that have been experienced them, and I've held a group for a very long time. And I was the first person to launch an e-commerce website just for the yoni eggs, and really created a big movement, a lifestyle around it. And so I seen the women experimenting within that, where they were keeping the yoni eggs in for a period of time, because what goes along with it is like what you said is you didn't really resonate with putting it in and tightening the pelvic floor, the muscles in there, because of the insertion that you have going on. So that's not important to you, but it is important because it's muscles in our body and they should be strengthened. And over time, like maybe now it's not super important to you, but over time the muscles will weaken, and we use those muscles for many different things beyond just pleasure and beyond having a baby or whatever. But even something as simple to reference as being able to hold in your urine when you get older, that's important for all women, and that's always in style. So that's something that's important for that. But that's kind of secondary to me because I'm not a doctor. So that's something that's out of my realm where I wouldn't be able to advise on that. I've never once worked with the client where I felt inside of her vagina to be like, okay, this is your tightness now. Let's see how much what happens after you wear this for so long. And then now let me feel and see what the changes. I don't have that kind of documentation. But what I do understand very well is that the crystals, they're crystals and they're stones, and they're living beings. They are part of what holds the grid of our planet. So they come from the earth, and there's different families of them. Like we have obsidian, we have quartz, we have jasper, we have agate, we have aventurine, and so on and so forth. And each one of the families specializes in something different. And so there's some very esoteric information out there that you can find, and this would be in like crystal books. But then there's also really good scientific information that you can find, and they both kind of lead to the same thing, to show that crystals and stones have an energy about them, and they have a relevancy, and they're able to impact our energetic bodies. And so there is a transformation that's happening when we come in contact with them. And so when we, it's popular to know to wear them as jewelry, or for whatever reason, if you show a beautiful crystal to a child, there's going to be an attraction there, and they don't obviously have like all of the information to tell you why there's an attraction, but there's something that's happening. There's a feeling that's different, that's transpiring, and that's the power of the crystals and the rocks and the stones. Mm-hmm. And so this what I've channeled through when I ask my guides, like, what's up with this, what is all of this about, what's come through to me is that the womb is it's like a portal, and it's a sacred space. Mm-hmm. And it's what gives women our magic. And within there, it's kind of like a genie is living in there that can make our wishes come true. It can bring forth life, it can cultivate it. And whether you're having an actual human child or not, it's our magic to constantly be creating, cultivating, nourishing something, and birthing things out. And that comes from the relationship with our womb. Mm-hmm. And so many of us have had trauma that we've taken to the womb, and we just stored in that space. And we don't know that most of the time that that's what's happening. Mm-hmm. But we do understand it in ways of like, my stomach always hurts. I am having not regular bowels. My menstrual cycle is irregular. It's very painful. You could have cancer. You can have fibroids. You can have cysts. And so that is your womb speaking to you and saying that there's a big amount of energy that's negative, that's festering in that dark space in your temple. And your temple needs some purging and some cleansing and some upliftment. Mm-hmm. So then we take the concept of the crystals, which have this really high energetic rate, and they have the ability to transform our energy just by being in our energy, right? Mm-hmm. And so let me actually retract it and say that I don't believe that they can necessarily do your work for you, because that's where you, as the spirit having the human experience in the human body, comes in to where your will comes into place, and you have to be in the driver's seat of doing your own healing work. However, they can influence your energy similarly to when you change your circle of friends. Like if you are going out and partying all the time and you're doing some stuff that doesn't feel good to your body anymore, and you look at your crowd and you're like, yeah, all the friends I have, that's all they like to do is party and do that. So then you start to say, you know what, I'm going to change my life, and I want to surround myself with different people. And you put different people in your circle, professionals or people who are mature, and you start to vibrate higher towards where they're at, because it's not that they're changing you by being themselves, but by you keeping company around from them, their energetic footprint is changing yours. Mm-hmm. So the crystals work in a similar way. And then having them in contact with the womb can help to assist you in just having this talking relationship. First of all, there's a whole ritual that goes along with like, I'm going to put this thing in me. Like, oh, okay, that's weird. And so why am I putting it into me? What is a womb? Why do I care about my womb? What does she want from me? How do I work in harmony? And all of those questions lead to answers in different ways. And so there you are, you're instantly already changing. So you're like, oh, okay, my womb, I found out, likes green juices. My womb, I found out, likes yoga. My womb, I found out, doesn't like men who don't respect me inside of my body. My womb, I found out. And so you start to make these changes to go in the direction that you want to go into. And so within that school of thought of what's happening with these women that I've been in the trenches with and have been learning from as we're experimenting, these women have made it their practice to put the yoni eggs in for long periods of time, because it's kind of like a vibe changer. So if you put it in and you're like, you know what, today I need some empowerment. I have a business meeting. I need to go in and rock it. I don't have time for self-consciousness. I'm going to put my carnelian in. That's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to have this carnelian in serving me, and I'm going to channel that energy, and it's going to give me power knowing that I have this thing inside of my yoni while I'm pitching this business idea. And so I'm going to keep it in for a long period of time. And so it seemed to be working. I haven't had any stories of women who have had long-term effects or any problems from them keeping the yoni eggs in for days at a time. But again, to circle back, I'm not a doctor, so I don't say that that's the way to do it. I don't know that that's 100% correct. And but this is just my experience.
Okay. So then that leads me to you. What called you to the crystal? I mean, I've heard you say in your conversation with Queen Afua that it's been with you since birth, and you did mention it here as well. And that when you became a wife, that took the form of an egg. And it just made me curious, and I was like, well, what was your experience like? What was calling you towards, you said you were looking for that, like something that was a yoni egg or similar to that, or crystals that were in the shape of yoni eggs too, and you couldn't find that anywhere. But what called you towards that? What made you feel like a yoni egg would be perfect towards my healing? Like, where did
Yeah,
that?
so my mom, like I said, was really spiritual and was a psychic, and so I've had crystals part of my life from the time that I was born, and they were my first caretaker when I was sent away from my family to daycare. So when that moment happened, I was sent in the care of a crystal that was called a worry stone. And it's a circle, flat stone, and it has like a print on it from the thumb. And so that was sent to me with specific instructions from my mom of that this is being sent with you. It's going to take care of you when you feel nervous or you feel sad or you feel afraid or you miss your family. You can just rub this stone and give all of it, your worries away. It'll take you and it will keep you safe and protected until we meet. Sorry, hold on. Okay. We good?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, cool. So that kind of continued on throughout my life. And as I went through different rites of passage, the crystals took different shapes to teach me different lessons. So the next one that I can remember, I was given a necklace, and that was taught to me as like, it was a necklace and a ring. I can't remember like the time, but a necklace and a ring, jewelry basically. And it was to teach me responsibility and keeping up with my stuff, being responsible for my things. Because before that, it was just like my mom did it, or the daycare person did it, or the teacher did it. But this was specifically to cue me into the fact that I was in possession of something that was valuable and that I needed to pay attention to where it was at and to take care of it and to honor it. So when I became a wife, when I was given a car, let's say that too, I was given a crystal that was hung over my rearview mirror, and that was to teach me responsibility of driving and protection. And so when I became a wife, they took eggs, and that's how they taught me about my womanhood and about what it meant to have a womb and what it meant to be fertile and to have eggs and to be in possession of a ton of power, and how to use my power to be a clear, focused woman on purpose. And then recently it's just changed within the last like few months. So now I'm in the phase of learning about some really deep wisdom, and they changed into a ball. So I'm actually studying with a crystal ball oracle. But yeah, the teacher that I was in the class for to learn about feminine archetypes, which was like my first feminine teachings that I went to, she was saying, you guys need to get a yoni egg, and here's the reasons why. And I couldn't find them. And I come from a background of sales and marketing and business ownership. So I seen that there was a deficit, and I felt like if these things are so important and women need them, like there needs to be a better way for them to be accessed. So I started it through my social media, and then it just went out of control. And eventually I launched a website to service women. And at this point, I've probably serviced close to 100,000 women around the world with my product.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. Thank you for that story. It's definitely interesting to learn like your whole journey towards like the yoni eggs and now to crystal balls. Like that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like for me personally, like I was drawn towards it. I was just like, as I kept exploring myself and my sexuality and who I was becoming and what I was healing and the traumas, it was just like, I feel the need to support my womb in some way. Like I just felt the calling, like there's something here. I know, like, because a lot of us women, we do carry a lot of power in our womb. Like we have vaginas, like we're powerful beings, men are too, but there's something, you know, sacred about the womb. And so take care of your womb, then you can take care of yourself. If you take care of your insides, like, of course, you know, naturally
Yeah.
that all of that healing is going to expand. Um, so so that brings me directly to the yoni egg. So for you personally, how long do you wear your yoni eggs? Like, how long do you keep them in, and how long would you advise someone to keep them in? I know you said you're not a doctor, but I from your experience.
It's different all the time. Like sometimes I will wear them for a day. Sometimes I just wear them to do exercises. Sometimes I like to wear them to make love. So it's different. I don't advise anybody on anything. I just give information, and people can make their own decision on what works for them. I think it's important that you develop your own rituals. Like, it's not for me to say that I'm like the headmaster here to tell everybody what is the right way to go about things. Like, I don't know every individual person's story.
Mhm.
And even if I did, that's just, I think it's more empowering for you to be the decider of things. And so I empower people with as much information as I can. And then you teach me, like, you teach me the way and what worked for you. So
Yeah, for me, I'm just feeling it out. Like, there, because I wore it for 2 days. Because the first day I wore it, and I was like, oh, I don't think it's meant to be worn for like a whole day. But the next time I put it in, I kept it in for 2 days, and then on the third day, it was like, okay, time to get 'em out. So, yeah, I think it's just for people to just feel out for themselves and see what works and what doesn't work. But I heard on a live this, that there's a woman that has a book out on yoni eggs. I don't remember her name, but she was on that live. I think I saw it on your stories, and she was saying she wore her yoni egg for like 2 weeks, and I was like, 2 weeks? That's a
yeah.
long time. But that was her experience with it, and so with you sharing, it's just really a personal preference. Then that makes sense. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
no like right or wrong, right or wrong amount of time to wear your yoni eggs. It's just whatever feels good to you.
Yeah, but you're going to figure out what's the right or wrong. You know what I mean? Like that's where your teachings come in, to allow that wisdom to come up from you. And I don't know, I'm as I'm learning more and seeing how fast information is transmuted, and even myself being in the position of like coming into something and then immediately putting myself in a position to like sell things, it puts me in an expert position. But just because I have a loud voice doesn't mean that I'm an expert, and it doesn't mean that I know things thoroughly. And so as I'm aging and as I've gotten I've had more experience, i I don't I think that the passing of teachings comes in a more sacred way. And it's not necessarily just because you bought entrance to my class or because you follow me on social media and you can have access to my free content. I think that it comes through a more sacred way of like one-on-one attention. Like, me as the teacher, I should see you for who you are for a very long period of time where we're moving through phases with each other. Um, and there's a more sacred transference of development and of information. And so yeah, I for the sake of these kind of things, like, I like to keep myself out of that position of being the one to tell you what's right and what's wrong. And I also think that even people with titles like such as doctors abuse their position of power to say like, this is the right way. Like, how can you tell me what this is the right way? Like, if you look at a person's face, we all have the same body parts, but wow, look at the plethora of ways that each person's face is expressing through those body parts. Like, how is that possible that our face, we have the same things, the nose, the eyes, the eyebrows, the mouth, but wow, how different our faces look. So I think it can be pretty like arrogant to put out a blanket statement to say like, this is the way that everybody should do things. And I just am not I haven't found that type of authority in my life to declare that as such.
Mhm.
That's not my kuleana to do that, my responsibility to do that. But I will say, I wanted to add this, that when you were speaking about the doctor, I've been under the teachings of a doctor, Dr. Jewel Pookrum, and she was a practicing OBGYN
Mhm.
in the 70s, and she was working with yoni eggs back then and was actually prescribing them to her patients. And But her specific way of doing it, Dr. Jewel Pookrum would be better at telling her story, but as I can recall, and trying to be a responsible storyteller, is that she would tell them to only work with obsidian, and black obsidian specifically, and it should always be drilled, and that they should do it for a few minutes, and just to do these particular exercises and breast massages. She was really big about, before you start with using the yoni egg, you have to start with the breast massage. And breast massages are very important, and for many different reasons, but also the reason why you start with the breast is because you start the stimulation of the juices in the yoni, so that the yoni is more acceptive to this object coming into the body. And then you do them for a period of time, like maybe 10 minutes, and then you remove the yoni egg, and that's it. You don't wear it for long periods of time. And so those are the teachings that I remember that was passed to me from Dr. Jewel Pookrum. But like I said, we're in a new era, and things are changing, and women are empowered to experiment. And so there's a lot of information out there of what that experimentation looks like for different women.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, mad respect for your stance on not telling people what to do, and yeah, I feel like it's one of the, like, it's a crystal, right? So if you're familiar with crystals or want to experiment with crystals, it's like it caters to each individual person and their experience with the crystals and what they want to receive from it. So it makes sense for the individual, if you're going to invest in a yoni egg or already have a yoni egg, to just experiment with what feels good and does not feel good to you regarding the egg. So thank you for that. Yeah, I love your packages. I feel like you put so much love into them. This one, I love this because you are in Hawaii, so I love the rainbow and what that represents. And also recently, I want to talk about a few things. So one, the size, because I feel like the size was a little difficult for me personally. And two, like the cleaning and the cleansing ritual behind it as well, that you sent with instructions on how to cleanse and clear your yoni egg. So yeah, so let's start with the size. Because for me, you see, all of the eggs that you sell on your website, they're all medium. And I've heard from other people, and actually from that same conversation with the doctors, that they come in different sizes. So small, medium, and large. And I've also heard that through the live that you had on your stories. So for me, I feel like the medium eventually, like I got used to it. Like anything else with size that you're inserting in there, like, you know, you got to figure out what size is good for you. But your yoni eggs specifically just come in medium. Is there a reason for that?
Yeah, there's a lot of reasons. It's kind of become a signature size that I work with. It's the one that I was originally introduced to, and I haven't deviated from that. And what I found is that it's perfect for beginners, for experienced people, and everything in between, virgins, really promiscuous women. Like, it just works. And I think that it's enough weight and it's enough of a size that it's just a good general yoni egg to start with. Like, you can put it in, and depending on like where you're at, it may be a bit of a challenge to get in, but it also, once it gets in, because one of the points to it is to be able to do exercises with it, to be able to feel the muscles in the pelvic walls and to move the yoni egg up and down the canal. That's part of the strengthening. And so being able to feel what you're working with is important. And so for the women who want to wear them for long periods of time, it's a good enough size where you can put it in and eventually you won't feel it. But if you need to tune in and you need to, like, where's my yoni egg at, like, you can tune in and you can feel it. So there's a couple things that I do. That's just my stance that I take as a business owner, that I don't do, or that I do. Like, I think I'm one of the only, I definitely was the first person who ever professionally packaged Yoni eggs. And that was really important to me. And that wasn't important to most other people who do it. And I've spent a lot of time doing packaging, and that's just how I chose to channel my energy, because I think that it's important that, like, I was wrapping my Yoni eggs, and I know 90% of these vendors out here who are selling them are wrapping them in bubble wrap and like cheap velvet bags from China.
Mm-hmm.
And I did that for many, many years. And I just think that there's something really, I have a Libra moon and a Taurus, Libra sun and a Taurus moon and rising. So like my Venus is in Libra. Like, I just come from the planet Venus, and I believe in beauty. And I think that there's something that happens to deliver tough medicine, which Yoni eggs can be tough medicine.
Yeah.
There's something that's really great about delivering tough medicine in the form of beauty. And so I like for my clients to have an experience of like feeling special, of, you open something and it's beautiful, and it looks like I took the time to care for you on my end as a company. And so that's what's important to me. Offering you different sizes, I think I can come up with ways for marketing to say why you need the different sizes and why you should spend more with me to buy 3 different sizes and why it's essential.
Mm-hmm.
But as a business owner, I haven't found that that's a way I want to channel my energy. Like, I would rather channel it into giving you pretty packaging than to tell you why you need to buy 3 eggs at once from me. So
yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I've heard. I've never, this is my first Yoni egg, but I've heard from other people that that's how they usually come, in like 3 different sizes. So I was just curious to know why you chose the medium size. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but let me show my Yoni egg, and the beautiful packaging, the way you I love it. Like, I really did feel cared for. I was like, this is amazing. Like, I just was so excited to like dive into this Yoni egg based on the packaging and how you deliver them. I'm like, yes, this is it. So this is my rose quartz Yoni. This is the medium size. It does come with a stand. That's freaking awesome. Like, come on. It comes with a stand, right? And then you just put it on whatever surface or whatever. And that's how you just leave them there. And I love that. And it also comes with like a card that gives you like the instructions. And I love that you have like the what is that called? The womb meditation that comes with it. And you tell us about the Yoni Mudra and meditations that you could do it. So I love that. Like, you don't just like send a Yoni egg and be like, here, do what you want to do with it. Like, it comes with instructions, and it's great. I love the way you packaged it, and that really made me want to reach out to you. I was like, I need to talk to this woman about these Yoni eggs. And recently I did want to talk to you about the cleaning and cleansing of the egg. So when I bought the Yoni egg, I wasn't aware that you had a cleanser with it. Maybe I wasn't paying attention to the details. And so when I got it, I was left with, I read how to clean it, and I was like, I didn't get the cleaner. So I was just like, how do I clean it? So I wanted to ask you that, like, if we don't have the cleanser, which is this Yoni egg cleanser, and I also most importantly wanted to read the back, because you put here, the premium cleanser has been specifically formulated to be the perfect disinfector for Yoni eggs to ensure it is thoroughly cleansed of bacteria to respect the sacredness and pH of your Yoni. You put some work into that. So I was like, yes. So tell me more about the cleansing part for those who have the Yoni egg already, and for those who haven't purchased and are still interested. But I remember purchasing the egg, and I was like, I didn't buy the cleanser. What do I use to clean it? And I just thought about like my bath soap. And I was like, I guess I'll use that because I use it on my body, so maybe it's safe enough. But I was concerned about that because I don't like to just put anything inside of me, because yeast infections and all the things, right? So tell me a little bit about the cleansing and the cleansing ritual that comes with the Yoni egg. And if you don't have the cleanser, what is a good product to use to clean your eggs?
Just like Dr. Bronner's would be good.
What is that?
There's Dr. Bronner's is a really popular cast style soap. It's an alkaline soap to use. It's made from vegetable oils, and it's just really, really good for you, like for your skin and things like that. It doesn't have any fragrances in it. But the one I use is this cast iron soap base, and then I add colloidal silver to it, and then tea tree oil. So it's super simple, but it's also profound in its simplicity. Both of them are really strong cleansers. Colloidal silver is amazing, and it's something, all of those are things that I would put on my yoni, you know? And so I feel like when you cleanse it, there's going to be some sort of residue that's left from the agent that you're using to cleanse the egg from, even if you wash it off. And so when you bring that inside of your body, it should be something that you can ingest through your mouth. And that wouldn't compromise the health of the yoni. So yeah. And I wanted to say on the packaging, like everything has a purpose to it. Like there's a lot of symbols and information that's given on the box, and there's all kinds of like little hidden things on the box of sacred geometry and different insects, and then the rainbow and the waterfall, like. And then on the card where there's like more sacred geometry, there's a Sri Yantra is on the front. And Sri Yantra is a beautiful symbol of manifestation, and like on the card that we gave you, that there's two cards, instruction cards. The one that you just showed, that's more of the esoteric explanation of things, of how to work with it energetically. And then inside of the box there's a use and care pamphlet that's just straight up like, here's how you use it, here's when you can use it, here's how you clean it hygienically, and like here's the exercises that you can do. But the esoteric card is it gives you the element to work with. And then it gives you the chakra, and then the mudra, and all of this is just to empower you with information. Like some of this stuff may not make any sense to you, of like, I don't know what a mudra is, why does it matter what an element is? But it's all just like subliminal information that's being given to you of like, oh, I've seen that somewhere. You know, like these are sacred symbols and ancient practices and things that have come from along the way of the teachings that I've learned, that have been like profound in my transformation and my understanding of what's going on around me and inside of me. And so I don't really necessarily give all of the explanation. Like I don't go into detail of like, here's why the element matters, because I just gave you like I took you to the water, and then you have to figure out how to drink. And so it's important, and something's going to be different to everybody. Like you can spend years just studying what mudras is, and you can spend years just studying what the elements are and what goes along with the elements and why the elements are important and how do you connect with them, and then what can you unlock in yourself by connecting with elements, and then how do you embody that element, how do you call forth that element, how do you send away that element, you know? So it's all intentionally given to you to empower you to take different parts out of this to define your path and your journey.
I love that. I feel like that's what sets you apart from a lot of maybe other yoni egg companies, because I've never seen this much detail that comes with a yoni egg. Granted, it's my first one, but I have not had any of this information associated with the yoni egg. So I love that you do that, and that you put so much love into them, and it's not just here's a yoni egg, figure out what to do with them. So yes. So also I'd love to touch on the I guess, for lack of a better word, the holistic piece, like the cleansing, because you also give the information how to cleanse it, like with a ritual and putting it inside a plant. It's been inside this plant for like 3 days. And also I've done the full moon cleansing as well. So can you share a little bit about that process, please?
About the cleansing, is that what you're asking?
Yeah. So it's like after you use it, you do give information about a cleansing process, as in the plant, right? To bury it in a plant, and also for the full moon. Could you just?
Some of it is just the passing on of rituals that I've done, or other women that have come into my path have done. And again, it's just to give you an idea of stories of womanhood and what we're doing. Some women really believe in putting the egg in the ground. And the concept of it is basically that you're giving away a lot of heavy energy to be transmuted to the crystal. And so crystals do become dull after some time, and they need replenishing in some sort of way. And they like different things. Sometimes they need to reconnect back to the earth and to feel the heartbeat of our mama, and to connect with the microbes and the bacteria that exist in the soil. And that's empowering to them to feel that vibration. And other times it's to sit out under the full moon. I mean, like a safe way to go about it, if you wanted to choose one thing, is just put your crystals outside under the full moon. Like, that's just fail proof, you know? Amethyst in particular loves to be put under running water. That's her special request of how she likes to be cleansed and recharged and powered up. So on each one of the cards, I just give different information on how you can go about that. There's also cleansing your eggs. If it's not a full moon, you had a gnarly session with your egg, you know, it pulled up so much information and you gave a lot away and you had this big transformation and you need to cleanse it right away. Easy, light some Palo Santo or some sage and run the egg under the smoke of that. But it's just the same thing you do with your own self. You know, when you feel overwhelmed and you're taking on too much, what do you need to do? You need to go outside. You need to connect with the earth. You need to sit under the moon and feel the energy. You need to go to the spa or be under some running water, you know, just something that you're taking on too much, and you need to like go to the elements to help recharge. And how do we cleanse our energy when we go into sacred spaces? We usually get sage. So it's just returning it back to that neutral place in that way.
Honestly, and clearing all the energy that you gave to it. So to recharge, you can recharge. Makes sense. I love it. I love it. I love all of it. I want to specifically know, like, using the crystals, what's your process for manifest? Your personal, because you did share some details of that, but I wanted to just share it here. Like you said, to speak into the crystal, what it is that you want. Can you share like the details of the manifestation process using crystals? Using the Yoni egg.
Yeah, you can have like a ceremony with yourself where you, first of all, I think you should write down what it is that you want so that you have that form of magic enacted. And then you from there can speak into the Yoni egg, because the crystals take programming, right? They're used in all of our technology. Like we're able to talk to each other right now because there's a crystal working for us inside of these computers and these devices. So they have the ability to they come with their own ancient wisdom, but then they also have the ability to take on new programming. So we can give them our information and say, like, this is why I've called you forth, and this is what I'm manifesting, and what I'm needing your assistant for. Calling forth teachers, I'm calling forth resources, I'm calling forth opportunities to be in the space to be able to, whatever this language looks like for you, you know, to heal and confront this aspect of myself, and then you put that inside of your body. So if you choose, and then it comes in contact with the womb and there's a transmutation that's happening, she's going to be talking to you and she's absorbing in and giving back to you what you've said to her. So
I absolutely love that. And so when you said, that was like a game changer. You put that on, I was like, oh, I can manifest through my Yoni eggs. That's awesome. Thank you. That was clutch for me. I was like, yes, because I'm always in a process of manifesting what it is that I want in my life, because my life right now in this moment is not exactly where I'd like it to be. So I'm in that process of like manifesting. So you're sharing all these details, and for me, like, that lit me up. I was like, manifesting with the Yoni eggs. Yes, this is awesome. So for those that have a Yoni egg, y'all know.
And the reason why it's given to you on a stand is because that stand is meant to serve as an altar like place. So for you to build an altar that goes along with what you're creating. And so when it's not being worked with directly with your body, you can still see it.
Is there anything else that you feel that I haven't asked that you'd like to share before we move on at this point in time?
No, but I really appreciate like where you're at with it, because I feel like I'm around a lot of people who this is like old news to them, and like, oh yeah, Yoni egg, I have 50, like, you know, so it's not always super exciting for me to talk about it because I feel like I'm just preaching to the choir. So it's cool to like hear your perspective of like, oh, that's awesome. Like you said that, like it gets me all like excited, like, oh, dope. You thought that was cool? Like, cool. It's like a renewing of my stuff. So thank you for your your enthusiasm.
Oh yeah, you're welcome. If you're on my show, then I'm excited about you. Like that, that's just how it is for me. But
Yeah.
yeah, but I like again, it just I wanted to have you on because there's so many people that are asking me so many different questions. All the questions I just asked you, and I was like, I don't know, I don't have an answer for it. So I'm sure the viewers will find this very entertaining. For those that are interested in yoni eggs and want to know what it is, and you put them where, like I love your slogan. Yeah, so they're new to me, and like crystals are not new to me. I love crystals. Like I wear them. I have my crystals. So I was just fascinated with like putting it inside of my body. I'm like, that must be so like that's so powerful. Like just the idea of like putting crystals in your body, like, and the fact that we're women and that we can do that because like men can't do that. So
Yeah.
unless you put it in your anus, but I don't know
They
how that
can't.
I don't know how that would work.
No.
But
Don't do that in.
don't listen to me, folks. I'm just that's just where I'm going with it. But yeah, I'm definitely excited. Yoni eggs are a thing and for me. So thank you for sharing all your wisdom on all of it. But yeah, I do have a segment on the show I like to call Vibing with Peta. There's just quick questions in regards to where you are in the pandemic because we all been through it. So I wanted to just ask you a few, and some are not pandemic related, but they're just quick fun questions.
Mm-hmm.
Our Vibing with Peta segment. So my first question to you is if there is there a significant or if there's a significant figure, whether living or dead, or is there that you would like to meet that you haven't met yet?
Yeah, my both of my grandmothers.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
And okay, well, I usually ask why, but they're your family, so clearly you would have wanted to have met them.
Yeah, just because I've only met one of my grandparents, and it wasn't like really, we didn't have a strong relationship. It was my father's father,
Mm.
and I feel like the family that I've been given, that I know in that are living, that have been around me, like we are similar, but there's like more to the story where I feel like I want, like, where do these exact, because I'm pretty different from my family,
Mm.
in particular in my interest of healing and just like, I want to say integrity of character, but that's not like, I guess I guess like my desire to know myself and to be into like self development, and bringing that on the forefront, like I feel like most of my other family, the forefront of importance to them was either relationships or money.
Mm.
And I that's not been my driving factor. Like, it's been my relationship with myself and understand, like, bringing some sort of balance back into this world. So anyways, I feel like maybe the elders, if I would have met them, they would have been more of the keepers of that, or been able to like help me understand where that comes from in my bloodline, and then also to ask some questions about my lineage from them.
Nice.
But I think I can meet them. I just got to go deep enough into ayahuasca ceremony.
There it is. There it is. Like they're around. It's just how you would access them, which is
Yeah.
a whole different show too. So, all right, second question. We're not in quarantine anymore at this moment in time. Whenever this airs, anyone sees it. But if we were to go back into quarantine, or when you were in quarantine, who would you want to be your quarantine bae? Like, what celebrity would you choose to be your quarantine bae? I just like to ask just to get an idea of like who you're into, like who you're attracted to.
Well, I don't. Let's see.
Who would you want to be trapped in quarantine with?
Kanye West and Drake.
Whoa. I have to say that was surprising. I was like, oh, okay. Both of them at the same time?
Sure.
Okay, girl. Do you? Hey, I feel that. All right. What book? It's a 4-part question. What book, podcast, music slash artist, and series are you watching or binging to? So
Oh,
both.
all day, every day, Joe Rogan podcast.
Okay.
Um, that's my like kind of the only podcast I listen to.
All right.
Books. I during quarantine, I worked on Celestian Prophecy,
Mhm.
or Celestian Prophecies. That was a good one. And then right now I'm studying Kabbalah and the Tree of Life, and the 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 wisdom and teachings through the Tarot. So my books are, and then also Egyptian cosmology. I'm studying all of that. So my books are in those realms.
Nice. Okay. And what music are you listening to right now? Music or artists that you're bumping to right now? Who's
I listen to a lot of instrumental things.
okay?
So not a lot of stuff with words. I like the freedom to be able to do what I want when I'm listening to music, and for it to serve as inspiration for me to think about what I want to think about. But let's see who some of those artists are. Um, oh, I don't know. It's hard to tell. I teach yoga too, so I'm also into a lot of vibey, just like relaxation kind of stuff.
Okay.
But yeah, I don't really have an artist off top actually to like, because I don't know who any of these people are. I'm just going through my Spotify and I'm like, yeah, they just have like here and there good songs, but I don't really know much about these artists.
So you're rocking lots of instrumental. Whatever sounds.
Yes.
I feel you.
Yeah.
All right. What series are you binge watching right now?
Oh, wait. I do want to say artist. My
Okay.
favorite artist though is Wake Self.
Wake.
That's Wake Self. I highly recommend his albums. All of them are bomb. And the last one that came out was called Ready to Live. So drop my boy.
All right.
Wake Self.
I've
Yeah.
not heard of the artist, but thank you for dropping that. I'll look into that for sure. All right.
Yeah.
What series are you binge watching right now, if any?
The Great British Bake Off.
Okay. Bacon shows. All right. That's your thing. I got you.
Yeah.
What new hobby or new normal have you picked up during this pandemic? Have you started anything new this year?
I'm in a mystery school right now. That's new. I'm getting back into photography and videography. So that's a big thing. And then I invested into a DJ board and some software for that. So I'm going to start learning how to DJ soon.
Oh,
Yeah.
you just felt called towards that? Have you done it before? Like, or you just felt called?
No, I'm really into music, and in my circle of friends, like that's kind of what I'm known for, is they always want to know like where I find the music I find, and like building them playlists and things like that. So, and I really love to party, so I just want to like get into like I like to party, but beyond that, like I just love creating soundscapes for situations, and that's always been really important to me. So if I can learn how to like blend all of that together and do something other than how it was given to me, like to make it my own unique way, then I want to learn how to do that.
Wow, nice. There was one point I wanted to learn to be a DJ too, because I find I love to like you listen to dope, just discover different music and artists and playlists and all those things. And I have a close connection with music, so I wanted to learn to DJ once, but I think I fell out with the guy that was teaching me how to DJ because he was like into me, and I was like, I just want to learn to DJ. Like,
Oh, they always ruin it like that.
anyways, so last question is, if you had one message for the world, this is a vibes question I ask every guest. If you had one message for the world, what would it be?
Invest everything you got into your healing.
Woo. I get an off shade on that one. I like that. Thank you so much. Thank you, Tiffany. This was so much fun. I appreciate learning so much more about the Yoni eggs now, and their purpose and their healing, and all of the different energies that they bring, and the different rituals, and how we can really utilize them. I feel like this was so much so helpful, knowing so much more about how to use my yoni eggs in all the ways. So thank you. I appreciate that you have this product in the world, and that women have a chance to just heal their wounds and their traumas, especially women of color, because we be about not about the woo woo stuff sometimes, like, because I'm sure we can make that another show as well. But yeah, but I appreciate what you do and what you bring to the world. Thank you so much. Hopefully we can talk next time more about sex and sacred sexuality and what that looks like, and the work that you do around it. So thank you for
I would love to.
thank you for the space that you provide, and thank you for all the information. Appreciate you so much.
Yes, you too. Thank you.
You're welcome.